In 2001, a new game console hit shelves that competed with the established industry leaders PlayStation and Nintendo. It was, of course, the Xbox, which has been staking its claim as one of the best gaming platforms ever since. With the release of its fourth-generation consoles, Xbox Series X and S, it's only right that we cover the origins and progression of this much-loved entertainment brand. This is the evolution of Xbox. Before the Xbox, Microsoft had, besides making computer software, already been successful with publishing games for PC, such as Age of Empires and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Meanwhile, Sony was growing in popularity with the PlayStation 1 and was already working on the PlayStation 2. Because Sony became a threat to Microsoft and video games were rapidly growing into a massive industry, Microsoft decided to venture into the console gaming market. As far back as 1998, the original development team for the Xbox pitched the idea to Bill Gates for a console that could harness the power of a PC. The initial concept was dubbed the Direct Xbox and would operate using Windows 2000, which made it easy for developers since they were already familiar with the software. The Xbox could have had a very different name, such as Myth, Microsoft Interactive Theater, Face, Full Action Center, VIP, Virtual Interactive Player, and probably Elon Musk's favorite name, Mars, or Microsoft Active Reality Zone. Eventually, the name was shortened from Direct Xbox to just Xbox. 3 years later, the machine was showcased by Bill Gates and The Rock. Wait, what?
That's fascinating. That's fascinating. Yeah, I might want to use that sometime, Bill.
While the features of the Xbox, like the potential for online play and HD resolution, were no doubt impressive, skeptics viewed the concept as no more than a PC in game console clothing. Regardless, the release date was soon set for the following year, and both gamers and critics alike waited with excitement for the launch of this groundbreaking new system. Fun fact: according to Xbox co-creator Seamus Blackley, there was a guy at Microsoft who had fancy markers which everyone immediately stole. The only color he had left was green, so he made the designs in that color. Microsoft actually used that green as the iconic Xbox color. Blackley refers to it as the green nobody wanted. In 2001, the Xbox was officially released. Microsoft managed to sell 1 million units in its first 3 weeks. When it was introduced, Microsoft's machine competed against Sony's PlayStation 2, Nintendo's GameCube, and Sega's Dreamcast. While the PS2 would ultimately prevail in terms of sales by a huge margin, the Xbox did end up outselling the GameCube, with estimated sales of 24 million compared to 21.7 million units respectively. The Dreamcast, however, only managed to sell 9.1 million units. Prior to its launch, Microsoft had acquired a games development company called Bungie. Bungie adapted their Halo franchise into a first-person shooter that could take full advantage of Xbox's impressive specifications. And the rest, as they say, is history. Halo and Halo 2 sold millions of copies, shattering records, and became a classic Xbox-exclusive series, as well as a flagship game for the system. Other notable games were Forza Motorsport, Fable,
a land bursting with life,
Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, and Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. Xbox became known as a platform for Western games and first-person shooters, which were quite rare back then. The controller that came with the first console was bulky, to say the least. It received the nickname the Duke because of its hefty size and weight. The controller featured many aspects of the latest trends in gaming, including 2 analog sticks, 6 action buttons, a D-pad, 2 analog triggers, a back and a start button, and it had vibration. The Duke was a disaster. In fact, Seamus Blackley showcased the controller during a big unveiling and he said, quote, "Boy, were people unhappy. People are throwing things like golf balls. Everyone just hated it. It was super traumatic. Japan was an incredibly important market for gaming, and Blackley went there to meet a famous Japanese game designer. The game designer told Blackley harshly that Xbox didn't know how to make a console, and it was all based on the controller. Blackley said, quote, "There are some Japanese apartments that are only 2 or 3 times the size of the Duke." It was offensive in Japan. Xbox knew they had to find a solution for the Japanese market, so they made a slimmer S version of the controller. It was generally more comfortable to use than the original. To the relief of gamers everywhere, the S model controller eventually replaced the Duke entirely. The Controller S laid the groundwork for all future Xbox controllers. As big as online gaming is nowadays, back in 2001 it was still in its infancy. Xbox decided that online gaming was designated as one of the key pillars of their strategy. While Sega had made an attempt with the Dreamcast to capitalize on the ever-growing online gaming scene, it wasn't a success. Microsoft hoped that the Xbox would succeed where the Dreamcast had failed. So in 2002, Xbox Live was made available as a subscription-based service that makes it possible to play online multiplayer games. In July 2004, Xbox Live reached 1 million online users. Microsoft lost money on every Xbox they sold due to the high manufacturing costs of $425, while the retail price was only $300. In total, Microsoft lost a whopping $4 billion on the original Xbox. However, they succeeded in making a name for their console. Fun fact, the original Xbox startup is rendered in real time instead of being a pre-rendered video. Interestingly, the boot sequence will never form the neon green blob the same twice. In 2005, Microsoft doubled down on their efforts and released the Xbox 360, almost a full year before its competitors came out with the PlayStation 3 and Nintendo Wii. Changing to an all-white appearance, the 360 was released at price points of $399 for the Pro version, which came with a 20GB hard drive, and $299 for the Core version, which only had 4GB of internal flash memory. More models of the 360 were released later. In 2007 came the Elite with a 120GB hard drive and a black finish. The Core version was replaced by the Arcade. Both are almost identical. In 2010 came the Xbox 360S, a slimmer model with a Wi-Fi adapter. And lastly, in 2013 came the E model that was restyled with design traits of the Xbox One. Getting the jump on its rivals certainly paid off for Microsoft, as the 360 sold more than 86 million units and remains the company's highest-selling game console to date. Updated hardware resulted in better graphics and a system that was thought to be much easier and more attractive for game developers. Xbox staff worked closely with game development studios and secured more exclusive titles, like the Gears of War franchise. Gamers had access to a wide variety of online and offline hits, such as Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, Fable 2, Forza Motorsport 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, and, of course, many Halo games, such as Halo 3, Halo Reach, and Halo 4. The Xbox 360 came with a redesigned controller. It added fundamental changes, such as turning the Xbox black and white buttons into additional shoulder buttons. And it added a new audio plug-in for headsets. The 360 controller came in both wired and wireless variants. The real game changer was the guide button placed in the center of the device. It had 4 LED lights around the 360 logo that would show the number of controllers connected to the Xbox. But it would also flash when the batteries would begin to run low. The guide button itself was tied to the next-gen experience of the 360, allowing players to quickly go to the console's hub. The 360 controller was regarded as one of the best controllers out there. Many preferred it over the PlayStation 3's controller. The 360 was also a great home entertainment system. playing CDs and DVDs while supporting services like Netflix. The user interface, or dashboard, has undergone many changes throughout the Xbox's history, with the aim of making the user experience smoother and easier for all. However, it was not always received that way. One aspect of the 360 that Microsoft would rather forget about is the dreaded Red Ring of Death, a console-killing issue that plagued Xbox owners and was signified by a ring of LEDs on the front of the console turning red and the system doing not much else. It was often caused by overheating. Did you know that these issues caused the Xbox 360 to have a failure rate of almost 24% during its first year on the market? At least Microsoft's CEO at the time, Steve Ballmer, had no problem spending over $1 billion to recall the 360 to legitimately solve the Red Ring of Death problem. In 2010, the Kinect add-on was launched, which consisted of a motion-controlled device and microphone. This allowed players to use their bodies and voice to control the action instead of using a traditional controller. Games such as Kinect Adventures, Dance Central, and Kinect Sports helped to sell the gadget. In total, 24 million units were sold. For those paying attention, you'll recall that's as many sales as the original Xbox console. Fun fact: on April 14, 2010, Microsoft officially discontinued Xbox Live support for the original Xbox games. However, players who were still playing after midnight were left to play until they signed out. A group of 14 players kept playing Halo 2 online to defend the honor of hundreds of Halo 2 fans who would still love to play multiplayer. They became known as the Noble 14. The final player, Apache Enforcer, stayed online for almost a month. Bungie thought it was honorable and gave them beta passes to Halo Reach. Microsoft also extended their Xbox Live memberships. The next Xbox console was released in 2013. It was marketed as an all-in-one entertainment system, hence the name Xbox One. Every Xbox One would initially be sold with the new Kinect sensor. It made use of a full HD camera with a wider angle coverage, improved tracking accuracy, and heart rate monitoring. The Xbox One with the Kinect sensor came at a high price of $499, especially next to Sony's $399 PlayStation 4. The high price, plus other drawbacks, such as an inability to share or resell games, privacy issues with the Kinect sensor, and having to always be connected to the internet, resulted in a terrible launch of the Xbox One. Microsoft did retract and change many of their initial requirements, but for many gamers, the damage had already been done. It's fair to say the Xbox One had a shaky start, though it did recover somewhat and has sold over 47 million units to date. Ultimately, though, it lost ground to Sony, who sold 109 million PS4s, and Nintendo, who sold 52 million of their Switches. Microsoft marketed the Xbox One as more of a multimedia device, with owners able to play media from USB devices, CDs, DVDs, and Blu-ray discs, as well as being able to capture and stream gameplay footage. The console's original operating system was based on Windows 8, but the user interface was not well received. It has been updated over the years, though. The focus on home entertainment as opposed to just gaming has led some to believe that the Xbox has fallen behind in terms of the game titles it now offers. Still, it has a number of exciting exclusives, such as Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Sea of Thieves, and Halo 5 Guardians. More iconic games available to play on the Xbox One include Red Dead Redemption 2, Minecraft, Battlefield 1, and Cuphead. Oh man, this game can be so frustrating. To improve the Xbox One controller, Microsoft spent a whopping $100 million. The D-pad was improved, the analog sticks were easier to move and had more grip, the X, Y, A, and B buttons were moved closer together, and the trigger and bumper buttons were made much wider. It also included haptic feedback for the triggers, adding more of a kick when playing games from the shooter and racing genres. The device also included access to more features that allowed players to capture images, record gameplay on their console, and let players share that content with friends online. Numerous special controllers were released. In 2015 came the Xbox One Elite Wireless Controller, which was marketed as a premium device for the elite gamer. It featured a steel construction with a soft-touch plastic exterior, along with rear paddle buttons, hair trigger locks which activate the buttons on the slightest touch, swappable components, and you could fully customize all buttons, triggers, and analog sticks sensitivity. In 2016, the standard controller was upgraded when the Xbox One S was released. While mostly similar to its predecessor, the Xbox One S controller added Bluetooth connectivity, allowing it to sync up with additional devices and with Windows-based PCs. Players could also customize the controller's design with Xbox Design Lab, allowing them to choose from a wide range of color combinations, adding metallic finishes and rubberized grips. In addition to the controller being upgraded, the consoles also saw an upgrade. The Xbox One S can upscale games to 4K resolution and supports high dynamic range, which broadens colors and contrast. In 2018, Microsoft released a very unique controller, the Xbox Adaptive Controller. It was designed for people with disabilities. With a standard D-pad and face buttons, the centerpiece of the adaptive controller has two massive buttons that could function for whatever the player wanted. Shortly after its release, Time magazine named the adaptive controller one of the best technological innovations of the year. 1 year later, Microsoft made the Xbox Elite Wireless Controller Series 2. It added more ways to customize the device and lets users alter the tension and pressure for each analog stick. Besides the standard Xbox One and Xbox One S, the Xbox One X came out in 2017. It was a high-end model that featured upgraded hardware and was much more powerful and could play games in 4K resolution. And in 2019 came the Xbox One S All-Digital Edition. It doesn't have a disk drive and stores everything in the cloud. Fun fact, Microsoft is a behemoth in the gaming industry. In 2014, Mojang was purchased for a whopping $2.5 billion. This was Microsoft's largest acquisition to date, adding the hugely successful game Minecraft to their library. In 2018, Microsoft continued their gaming empire by acquiring SixStudios, the most notable being Ninja Theory, maker of the Hellblade series, Obsidian Entertainment, the developers of The Outer World and the highly anticipated game Avowed that has yet to be released while making this video. And Playground Games, which is the creator of the Forza Horizon series. In 2021, Microsoft bought Bethesda and its subsidiaries for a massive $7.5 billion. This means Microsoft now owns major franchises like Doom, Fallout, Wolfenstein, The Elder Scrolls, and Dishonored. As if that wasn't enough already, Microsoft plans to spend an enormous $68.7 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard. If the deal continues, Microsoft will own Call of Duty,
Bravo team offloads here. Alpha team stays on board to land downrange.
Diablo,
And you will not confront the darkness alone.
Overwatch,
All I need.
and World of Warcraft. As well as previous PlayStation exclusives Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon. This could be a massive opportunity for Microsoft to grow its Xbox Game Pass library. Speaking of which, the Xbox Game Pass is a video game subscription service that allows players to play games on the Xbox One, the latest generation Xbox Series X and S, PC, but also on mobile phones, tablets, and Samsung Smart TVs via Xbox Cloud Gaming. It's basically like Netflix, but for video games. Phil Spencer has stated that Microsoft's intent with the Xbox Game Pass is to make it available across many devices, including those of their competitors. Spencer stated, "We want to bring Game Pass to any device that somebody wants to play on. There are now hundreds of games available on Xbox Game Pass, and new games are added all the time." With the arrival of the Game Pass, multiple special controllers were released. For instance, Xbox released a new controller in partnership with Razer in August 2020, the Razer Kishi. This innovative controller can be attached to your smartphone and turns it into a gaming device. Besides the Razer Kishi, there's also the GameSir X3 Type-C, the Moga XP5 X Plus controller, and the Moga XP7 X Plus controller. On January 18, 2022, Microsoft announced that Game Pass had surpassed 25 million subscribers. Scheduled for release at the end of 2020 was the Xbox Series X. In the lead up to its launch, it was clear that Xbox appeared to be focusing on a high-end product.
Where you are now.
Upon its release, Microsoft announced the retail price of the Xbox X to be $499 in the US, and demand for the console was incredibly high. The Series X unit is about 60% bigger in volume than the Series S, which was released at the same time. Its small size being due to Microsoft designing the Series S to be easily portable for travel usage. The Xbox Series X launched in a matte black case, along with a controller in a matching color, distinguishing it from the matte white that the Xbox Series S uses. The new controller is aimed to be more ergonomic, to fit a larger range of hand sizes. The D-pad was also improved by merging the standard Xbox One controller D-pad with the Elite to accommodate a range of playstyles. There is also a share button in the center of the controller's face, which lets you create screenshots and video clips more easily. It also adds USB-C for faster charging. But other than that, it is similar to the Xbox One controller. As such, there's no learning curve and no period of readjustment. The Xbox Series X was claimed to be twice as powerful as the Xbox One X, and has the ability to play games in 4K resolution, has a 1TB SSD, and can render 120 frames per second. With this amazing resolution, gamers with 4K televisions who want to play games at the highest quality will benefit from the extra power of the Xbox Series X. It is also backwards compatible, allowing you to play games from all Xbox consoles. With support for higher display resolutions, up to 8K high dynamic range, and Xbox Velocity architecture, the Xbox Series X was touted as the fastest, most powerful Xbox ever. According to Xbox, with its AMD Zen 2 and RDNA 2 architectures, DirectX ray tracing delivers true-to-life lighting, shadows, and accurate reflections to create dynamic, living worlds. This no doubt created a better and more immersive experience for gamers and Xbox lovers everywhere. New games for the Xbox Series X were Forza Horizon 5, Elden Ring, Hellblade 2,
But I will show you what lies behind my eyes.
Cyberpunk 2077,
So seize the day, then set it on fire.
and of course, Halo Infinite.
You have one bullet against an entire army.
It's enough.
Additionally, Microsoft's Flight Simulator also became available for the Xbox Series X, showcasing the Series X's unparalleled load times, enhanced visuals, and stabler frame rates. Receiving universal acclaim from critics and having over 1 million users within weeks of its launch. And finally, with its release in November 2020, the Xbox Series S was also part of the fourth generation of the Xbox console family, along with the Xbox Series X, both following the Xbox One the consoles were launched initially in the US before moving to global markets. The Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S, alongside Sony's PlayStation 5, which was also released in late 2020, are part of the 9th generation of video game consoles, all coming with substantial performance upgrades. While the Xbox Series X is arguably the better console due to its more powerful specifications, the Xbox Series S is an excellent compact console. It's also markedly cheaper. Upon the release of the Xbox Series S, it was priced at a lesser $299 in the US, making it far more affordable than the Xbox Series X for those with a smaller console budget. The Xbox Series S was also easier for many to purchase due to restocking issues messing with the availability of the Xbox Series X long after its initial release. In terms of hardware, the Xbox Series S is comparable to the Xbox Series X, but has less processing power. While the Series S runs with the same CPU, it uses a slower GPU, uses 10 GB of RAM compared to the Series X's 16 GB, and has a 512 GB SSD. The console has the ability to play games in 1440p resolution, with support for 4K upscale, and can render 60 frames per second, although it can go as high as 120 frames per second. Aside from these differences, the console has the same functions as the Xbox Series X, including ports and game support. It is also capable of playing many of the same games available to the Xbox Series X, with numerous features being identical, only at a lesser resolution and frame rate, and, debatedly, a lesser gaming experience. While impressive for its specifications and price, there are certain games that are arguably better played on the Xbox Series X, which supports 120 frames per second and ray tracing, such as Battlefield 5 and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. The Xbox Series S is comparable with users' Xbox One gaming accessories and brings faster response time. It is also backwards compatible with thousands of original Xbox, Xbox One, and Xbox 360 games. As of summer 2022, a number of upcoming games have been announced to be compatible with both the Xbox Series X and Series S. These include Saints Row, The Lord of the Rings Gollum, Fable,
And wondrous places.
The Elder Scrolls 6, Sonic Frontiers, Diablo 4,
Line of sin for deeper knowledge.
Minecraft Legends, alongside Starfield, which will be made exclusive to the Xbox X and S series in 2023. The Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S have both strengthened their positions over the last year, and in July 2022, total sales were estimated to have reached over 15 million units across the globe. Xbox certainly intends to stay competitive, but surprisingly, Microsoft's head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, revealed that it isn't PlayStation and Nintendo whom they see as their main competition for the future. It is actually Google and Amazon, since the future console wars could be with cloud gaming services. Cloud gaming still seems like it's in the distant future, so for now, let's just wait in excitement for the next generations of Xbox consoles.